It began quietly, long before the world ever suspected a royal wedding was in the making. Princess Leonor of Spain, heir to the throne, the future queen, born into the weight of 1,000 years of history, and Prince Christian of Denmark, the charming young royal destined to shape his own monarchy's future. Two royal bloodlines, two nations bound by centuries of diplomacy, tradition, and silent rivalry, now united by something deeper, something far more human: love. At first, their encounters were formal, brief, unremarkable to the public eye. Official visits, youth summits, shared royal duties, nothing more than polite smiles captured by distant cameras. But behind the curtain of protocol, a friendship began to grow. It wasn't scripted by palace advisors or dictated by tradition. It was quiet, private, and pure, a friendship that blossomed in the rare air where duty and desire quietly collide. For years, rumors swirled across Europe's royal circles. Speculations in glossy magazines, whispers in palace corridors, denials from press secretaries. But the truth, as it often is in royal life, remained hidden, protected by those who understood that not everything precious should be exposed too soon. Leonor and Christian learned to guard their hearts, yet even the firmest walls cannot contain the inevitability of destiny. As Leonor matured into her role, taking her military training, addressing the Spanish parliament, earning respect as the future monarch, Christian, too, grew into his identity, balancing charm with quiet strength, duty with warmth. And somewhere between Spain and Denmark, between tradition and change, their paths crossed once more, no longer as children of royalty, but as two souls who understood each other's burdens. When the engagement was finally announced, it felt less like breaking news and more like a long-awaited chapter being opened. Madrid erupted in joy. Copenhagen celebrated in grace. The world watched, stunned yet moved, as the two royal houses, once distinct, began to merge into one story of hope, youth, and renewal for the European monarchies. And then came the wedding day, a morning so golden it felt ordained by history itself. Spain awoke to the tolling of bells from the Almedina Cathedral. Crowds gathered long before dawn, waving Spanish flags alongside Danish banners. The air shimmered with excitement, the kind that only comes when history unfolds before your eyes. Inside the cathedral, a symphony of white flowers cascaded from the altar, and the air was thick with the scent of roses and royal incense. Every corner glowed under the soft light of stained glass, light that seemed to bless not only the bride and groom but an entire generation that had watched them grow. Then came Leonor, grace itself in motion. Her gown, a masterpiece of Spanish artistry, modest, regal, and timeless. Her train stretched behind her like the history she carried, and yet her eyes, full of love and quiet joy, looked only at him. Prince Christian stood tall, in Danish military uniform, his expression a mixture of pride, awe, and unspoken emotion. In that moment, the weight of two nations disappeared. It was not Spain and Denmark before the altar. It was simply two young hearts, daring to love across the expectations of empires. The vows were soft but steady. The world leaned in to listen. Even the cameras seemed to hesitate, afraid to intrude on something sacred. And when they said, "I do," the cathedral erupted in applause, restrained, reverent, yet overflowing with joy. Tears glistened in the eyes of Queen Letizia, her composure bending just slightly. King Felipe, proud and silent, offered a subtle nod. A father's blessing, a monarch's approval. Across the aisle, Crown Prince Frederick and Crown Princess Mary exchanged glances filled with emotion, knowing, perhaps, what it means to see your child step into destiny. Outside, the people of Madrid roared with celebration. Flags danced in the breeze. The royal couple emerged from the cathedral's great doors, sunlight washing over them like divine favor. They waved, hesitant at first, then with pure, unrestrained happiness. For a moment, the formality fell away. They were no longer royal figures on a balcony, they were newlyweds, in love, overwhelmed by the sound of a world cheering for them. That afternoon, as the newly crowned Duke and Duchess of Asturias, a title steeped in Spanish history, rode through the streets in a golden carriage, the bells of Madrid rang endlessly. Confetti rained like soft snow. Children called Leonor's name. Christian leaned close, whispering something only she could hear. And she laughed, that rare, unguarded laugh the world had seldom seen. Evening descended upon the royal palace, where the reception shimmered beneath thousands of candles. Music drifted through marble halls, blending Spanish guitar with Danish strings. The first dance, tender, elegant, filled with the kind of affection that words cannot capture. It wasn't just a royal event, it was the rebirth of romance in a world that had nearly forgotten how to believe in it. But beyond the beauty, beyond the opulence, was something deeper, the symbolism of unity. For Spain, Leonor represented the dawn of a new era, a young queen-to-be who understood both the old ways and the modern world. For Denmark, Christian stood as a bridge between tradition and the future, a prince who would one day reign with compassion and grace. Together, they represented more than love, they represented legacy. The following day, newspapers across the world carried headlines of admiration. Two kingdoms, one love. Europe's future crowned in Madrid. History's most modern monarchy begins. And indeed, it did. Because from that moment, the image of monarchy itself began to shift. It was no longer just lineage and duty, it was authenticity, partnership, and purpose. In the days that followed, unseen footage from the ceremony began to circulate. Moments that cameras had captured but not broadcast. Leonor clasping her mother's hand before walking down the aisle. Christian whispering gratitude to his grandmother, Queen Margrethe. The couple's brief, emotional exchange as the cathedral doors closed behind them, a sigh of relief, a smile of disbelief. It was real, unguarded, profoundly human. That's what made the world fall in love with this story. Because it wasn't just about royalty, it was about two people who carried immense responsibility yet still found room for tenderness, for laughter, for love that felt genuine and earned. And as Spain celebrated late into the night, fireworks exploding over Madrid's royal palace, a sense of renewal swept through Europe's monarchies. The past had met the future, not in conflict, but in perfect harmony. And perhaps that is what history will remember most. Not just the crowns or the ceremony, not the gold or the grandeur, but the courage it took for a young princess and a young prince to love in the open, in front of a watching world, and still make it feel private, sacred, and eternal. For in that moment, when Princess Leonor and Prince Christian became husband and wife, history did not just witness another royal wedding. It witnessed a promise, that love, even among those born to rule, is the one thing that truly reigns forever.